Hello, guys. We're back with another episode. And today I am so grateful. Every day I'm grateful, but today I'm incredibly grateful. Because what I'm about to tell y'all, what I'm about to tell y'all, you see, I feel like this was something that I was overthinking for a long time, and it was the ability to really just communicate in the simplest forms, the foundations of what I've experienced, but also what we are experiencing now as a collective. So, I think between today and like really just like the past 24 hours, it's been a series of synchronicities. And if you're not familiar with that term, it's like concrete, obvious signs that are occurring like pretty consistently that confirm for you that you are on the right path. And usually a synchronicity can look like maybe you overhear a conversation and somebody's talking about that they just dropped their dog off, and the dog that they dropped off was a golden retriever. And then maybe like the day before, you were thinking about volunteering at a pet shelter or something. And then maybe, I don't know, later that day you go and you start just seeing golden retrievers. So those are you that's like a sign of synchronicity. So maybe in this case, hypothetically, it could be leading you to in or reflecting to you in this internal desire that you may be ready for having a pet. And as I say this, I kind of been having signs like that, but I'm also like I have a child, so I'm like that's another child, but in God's time. Anyways, that's an example of what a synchronicity would be. And to be honest, my whole life has been a series of synchronicities, and the reason for that is we are always experiencing synchronicities if we are attuned to seeing them or noticing them. And synchronicities are simply like the natural order of creation of the universe, because everything is in sync, everything is connected. So automatically what seems like, oh, like wow, that's weird, that just happened and that just happened and that just happened, and like you connecting the dots, it isn't that like this is like something that's new per se. It's that you have gotten to the awareness that you're connecting the dots, even though the dots have always been connected. And at the same time, um, depending on the frequency that you are operating from, depending on your perspective of the world, or just of a situation in that present moment, you may view the same series of synchronicities in a different way. And I think for somebody who is starting to tune into this, and it's becoming more obvious to you, and it's becoming just more, yeah, like you just can't ignore it. You're like, whoa, like this is real, like this is happening like all the time now. And some people call it like signs from the universe, right? Other people can call it like the Holy Spirit leading you. Other people can call it just, being in tune with Mother Nature. There's different perspectives on that. But really, it is that we are like a web, and like there's a golden web between everything and everyone, and maybe a certain part of the web was turned off, and then all of a sudden that golden light just kind of boop, it lit that part of the web up. And then once that little corner of the web lights up, then it has a domino effect, and then another part of the web starts lighting up. So I'm feeling very inspired to share more of these concepts in a visual way, like visual language, I would say, because for me, the way that the way that I enjoy relating to the world is through imagery and through art. And part of that would be either like films or music or just like physical like movement, things that kind of bring feeling and like light up my different senses. And every single person is a little different, so this can go as simple as like your learning style. We all have different learning styles. Some are more auditory, some are more visual learners, and some like you need to like read things to really like take it in, and some could be all of the above. And yeah, so synchronicities, it's so beautiful. It's so beautiful. Like when you experience them, you can't really go back. And I think, sometimes you might not feel like you're experiencing it as much, and even though it's still there, it might be because there is some slight like blockage, or just maybe in that moment there's a disconnect in whatever way. Because for me personally, what I've noticed is that synchronicities, they're a way of telling me or confirming for me that I'm on the right track. And ever since I was little, I really loved and was really observant with just how nature interacted, and how and people interacted, and just like the different ways of how things were in relation to each other. So just for example, going to a park, you can see somebody running. And then you can also maybe tune your focus to the sky. You see that the sky is sunny and partly cloudy. And you're like, okay. And then you tune into the birds that are flying over. And then maybe you hear a child that's like calling their mom like down the block or something. And then you can maybe see a squirrel crossing in front of you, and like those different aspects that it's like you're in one moment, you're in the present moment, and each thing is occurring, like if you separate it, the birds are doing their thing, the person's doing their thing, the sky is doing its thing, squirrel's doing its thing, but it's all happening simultaneously. So when we are operating from a frequency of survival or shame, more often than not, those won't come to your awareness. Like, it won't even be there, because the only thing that you might be experiencing is just trying to break free, or to try to, like, you're just looking for something else to you're trying to basically get out of the present moment, not be with the present moment. So in order to transform that, because every single person has the ability to change and transform if they choose. In order to do so, especially when you are operating from what we call a denser, heavier, like, just really feels like a weight on you frequency, simply by becoming aware of the present, right? Becoming aware of even how you feel in your body. So let's say you just take a moment, you take a deep breath. So let's take a deep breath. So you can do that, and you can choose to either tune into more of what you're feeling, right? Maybe you can ask yourself what it is that you're feeling, where you're feeling it. And you can also kind of just either stand up or sit down and just take a look at everything that's around you, and really, more often than not, the reality is better than what your mind is telling you it is. And sometimes what you see might actually be really hard to be present with. Sometimes what you observe and what you may feel is happening to you, the last thing you want to do is be present with it. And it is also the most needed. It is the most needed, and that is the key to change and transformation. Yeah, I probably didn't think I was going to go there, but we're going there. We're going there because there is a part of my life where, even knowing certain things about how the laws of creation work, I still was operating from a frequency of either fear or guilt or just anger. I would say anger. And in that, it blurred the lines a lot for me. It clouded my vision. It clouded what I could have experienced, because I was choosing differently. And at the same time, God is always present. God is always present, even in those moments where it feels like he isn't, where it feels like you don't know what to do, who you are, where to go, why you're here, questioning everything about existence and life and if it all really matters, or if anything matters. And if you've gotten to this point, it matters because you make it matter. Things have purpose when you give meaning to it. Because, yeah, if you really wanted to, you can just be like, there's no point to anything. It doesn't matter. I'm not going to try. I'm not going to do the thing I said I was going to do. I'm not going to show up for myself, or I'm not going to be the, I'm not going to forgive. I'm not going to apologize. I'm not, because none of it matters anyway. And, or the reversal where you, I don't know, do everything that without, I guess, without checking in with yourself first, and then you're like, well, it doesn't matter, so let me just throw the hat in. Oof. Oof. I really pray for you that if you're somebody watching this right now and you've gone through those moments, and maybe you're going through it right now, where, or you even you had to witness someone else going through it, and maybe it was hard for you because you didn't understand how to be there for them. And that's okay. That's okay. I pray that no matter what you might see or hear, or feel doubt with, I pray that God reveals himself to you. That you know that you are not alone. You've never been alone. And he's listening. He's listening, and you are worthy, and it doesn't matter what you've done. If you have the willingness to change, you can do so. I want to tell you a little bit about some stuff that's happened for me in the past few years. And I can only give credit to God. Because I didn't do any of it. I'm 23 years old. And God gave me a house at the age of 22, when at the time I had no job. and I have a house, a tiny house that I live in. And the only way I can explain it is God gave me this house. God gave me this house because I did not know where I was going to live, like what I was going to do, probably like when I first moved to Austin in 2021. And I had stayed with my family. I ended up staying with my family for 2 years. 2 years that I didn't think it was going to be that long. I thought I was going to just maybe be there for a few months and then I'd move out. And it just didn't work out that way. And I was sleeping on the couch for almost 2 years. And in that time, or like right before that, I was blessed to receive income due to like everything that was going on during the pandemic. I was blessed to receive some because of the job market. And like at the time, because no one was hiring, I was one of those fortunate people to be blessed with that. And I say this because for a long time I had this resistance towards speaking about the miracles of my life, because for some reason, like, thinking that someone will be like, well, that's not fair, like, she's just lucky. No, honey, it wasn't luck. It wasn't luck. It was consistent faith. It was consistent faith, even though when I didn't know the level of faith, I didn't even know to the full extent of what faith was, really. But I just knew that God got me. And I've always known that God got me. So it's obedience. It's obedience in faith and trust in what I cannot see. So from that, what I received, I was able to invest, and in that I decided to use that to get a tiny house, to at least put the down payment. The thing was, the building process for it also took longer than I expected. So it was a lot of things that happened in between. But when the time came to like sign all the paperwork and speak with the bank and all these things, like it was that, like right before I was good, but it was this small window of time that I didn't have a job. So then there was literally like everything was not showing that I can get this house, because I was like, this is impossible. Like, how am I going to get this house? So, I was really speaking to God, and I was like going back and forth, and I'm like, you know what? Like, this is out of my control, and it was kind of like, there was a part of me, I was like, this would really suck. Like, it would really suck, because I'm like, damn, like, I was really excited. I'm gonna finally move out. Like, I'll have my own space. And then to think that I have to like go back to square one and just, it was a lot. And I was like, I have no control over this. And all I can do is, I literally said, I was like, you know what? If I'm meant to have this house, it's going to work out. And if not, then it is what it is. Like, I can't do anything about that. And in the moment that I released the need, it was like I completely detached from that outcome. I completely detached from owning, like, I just completely detached from it. I was like, all right, well, if I gotta go and find a few roommates or, whatever, I was already, in that thinking mode of what were the possibilities. And a few days later, I got an email from the bank that there was some loophole or something in the fine print, I don't know, something where I was able to get the house. And this house has so much history in such little time, because so much has occurred here in such little time. But another story related to this house was that I was living in a place. I had moved it, like physically parked it in an area, because it's a mobile tiny house on wheels. And I had it parked in a place, and there was a lot of relationship issues going on, and I knew that I needed to move. I just knew that. That was what was most, like, important for me. And mind you, I was also pregnant. So there was a lot of surrender in not just attaining this house, but even almost like making this house home. Making this house a home, because when I first got it, there was a lot of other factors at play where I wasn't enjoying it, and I was like I had finally gotten it, and I was like, I didn't feel, I wasn't enjoying the house, and I was like, well, this sucks too, like, I finally got it, and it's just, it's not feeling good. So I was everywhere, looking everywhere where I could move this house, and in a fairly short amount of time, because my lease was gonna renew soon, and I didn't want to renew it. So, and I also was given my due date, and I was like, I don't want to wait until I'm popping until to move this house, because if you've moved before, you guys know what it is. So anyways, sorry for this, like, weird lighting. The sun is just like, but we're just gonna keep it, because that's where we're at right now. Like that, maybe. So basically, in some of that time period, my baby came early. My baby was a preemie. And part of me already knew this, because I was given the clear message, like, be prepared, be prepared for anything, really. and I was probably the least prepared possible. Like everything was felt like it was falling apart. It was the worst possible moment for what seemed like the worst possible moment for my baby to be born. Okay? And I started bleeding one day, and I called my midwife, and I was like, "Hey, like, I'm spotting. I don't really feel any like pain or anything, but I just thought I should send this to you." And she told me to go to the doctor to check it out. She was like, make sure. And then when I went to the hospital, they told me that basically they said, like, if it continues to come back. The next day, I was still bleeding. And then contractions started happening. And basically I was in labor. I was in labor, and my house was still not moved. And at the same time, I almost forgot. Well, in that time period, it probably like not even, what was that? I'd say a month before. A month before was when I found a place where I was going to move it. A month before my daughter came. I found a place, and that also was through a series of synchronicity that I was able to find that place in the first place. But I had told the landlord that I would be ready to move in March, I believe, because that was that one, or February. Yeah, no, did I say February or March? I forgot. I said one of those months so we can start it, and then it was earlier. Like, what happened, it was earlier than what was expected, that I was giving birth. So so I had to tell them, and I had to reach out. I was blessed to have people really come through, and men, like, truly, like, masculine, rooted, kind hearted men that helped me, like, throughout that, because I was in the hospital, and I really couldn't do anything, and my family too, so while I was there in the hospital, and that may have been there, it's a little blurred, the lines. It was sometime in that week that I was in the hospital. I was there for almost 2 weeks, I think. The house was moved, but like, for me to do that, for me to do that, and had gotten the clear message that I needed to move, right? And more so before my daughter came to this world. So that's just a little bit. That's just like a really, like, teaser of what God has done for me in my life. And I thought for a minute, like, is it too soon to say this? And it's not too soon to say this, because there's someone right now who's questioning their belief, who's questioning, is God real? God is real. God is real. And we're going to see that in a grander scale moving forward. It's going to be very obvious, because there are some things, most things, when there reaches a point where you fully cannot control anymore, where you you just throw the towel in and you're like, I surrender. I surrender. I surrender. That's where those breakthroughs come through. That's where those breakthroughs come through. So I'll definitely be I'll be talking more on my birth story. That's a whole other thing, but we'll get to that at some point. And I want to leave you with God is real and God loves you. And even if you want to call him a different name, that's okay too. He still loves you. That's okay too. He still loves you. Thank you for listening.